I'm Karen Strunks. I am a life and business mentor. I help people create a life of freedom on their terms, doing what they love. At the moment, I'm location independent and I help others create a life of freedom. Today, we are with our host, Marina Nani, and we are inviting you to join us for some great conversations about creating a life and business of freedom. Over to you, Marina.
Welcome, wherever you are in the world, we are here for you. I have the greatest privilege today to ask Karen to share her story because she got the most amazing story. And Karen, as you well know, is a great speaker. She's an author and she is the mentor for the daring, ambitious entrepreneurs who know they were born to create better life choices, who know they were not born for the norm. Over to you, Karen.
Thank you, Marina. Yes, I am all about helping the people that know that they aren't here to fit into society, that they maybe feel like a square peg in a round hole, that maybe they aren't doing the work that they love, that they're born to do, that they feel passionate about. Maybe they feel constrained by the rules of society, the rules of having a boss, the rules of having an employer, the general rules of life, and they have a bigger life to live for themselves, and they know deep in their hearts that there's something more for them. So I am so passionate about, and I help people rise up to their greatness and create absolutely freedom in their life. Freedom is the driving force for everything that I've been doing over the last 16 years or possibly longer. So that to me is so important. Freedom to not only be your own boss, freedom to call the shots in every area of your life, freedom to claim and own your earning power, freedom to work with only people that you want to work with, freedom to only have the people in your life that raise you up, freedom in every single area of your life. That's so important, and this is what I help other people do. Over to you, Marina.
I know, Karen, that in the last 10 years, which is just a decade ago, but it was um, a decade of discovery and self-discovery. And you took this journey into, you basically trade the race for the journey, and you took this journey into an unknown destination. 10 years ago, you left your cubicle cage and made a break for freedom, and you start creating a new life from your passion, from I don't know if you don't mind me saying this, from dominatrix to photographer to social media and marketing teacher to right now, today, you are speaking in front of people who are listening to you from all over the world. And I would like to ask if that's an option. I know you are a straight talker, so you can tell me off anytime. What made you drop everything that was imposed on you, that was expected of you, and take this journey? What made you exchange the daily race for the journey?
It was quite a bit of a journey that brought me to that point. About I had a job, a 9 to 5 job, a corporate kind of job, and I had been there for years. And on the outside, it looked like a good job to have and a good kind of business to work for, and it kind of ticked those boxes, I guess. But after a few years of doing this, I became more and more dissatisfied. I felt like I wasn't making a difference in the world. I became very bored, and also you become the product of your environment and the people that you surround yourself with. I've been surrounded by people who weren't on the whole that positive or happy with their lives. It began to drag me down. What happened was that unhappiness manifested in depression, quite severe depression, where you wouldn't have recognized the person I was then to the person that you see today. So I became bedridden with depression. I was very frustrated with life. I actually had times where I didn't want to live, and I had months off work over the course of probably a couple of years there, 2 or 3 years. But I didn't know my choices and what the alternatives were. I thought, well, if I leave this job that I'm so unhappy with, I'm just going to swap it for another job and end up unhappy. And so I really didn't know what to do. I felt very frustrated, but the word freedom was going round and round in my mind at the time. I hit my rock bottom, as many of us do, in order for us to rise back up, with the day that I've blogged about. It's on my website, and it's called The Day That Changed My Life, where the fear of, I didn't know what was on the other side if I'd left that job. So I was a bit afraid of that. But the fear actually of going in to do a day's work that made my heart sink and that sucked the soul out of me was more frightening than the unknown. And I went in there, and I'd been there 10 years by this point, and handed in my notice and walked out. And that began my break for freedom. I made a whole heap of changes during that time. Once I made the break, the kind of things that most people do maybe once every 3 or 5 years, I did it all the same time. So I'd broken up with my fiance, I sold my house and moved, I traveled around America, I became a life coach and qualified as an NLP practitioner, and did all these things like within a year, very, very quickly. That began opening up my mind to new levels of freedom. Now, I did go back and take another couple of office jobs, which I walked out of both of them. So I walked out of the second one, and then the last and final one. I was beginning to create more and more freedom in my life. In that particular job, I had a very cantankerous boss. We had ended up having an argument, and I told him to go to hell, and that was the end of that. So that began my journey into creating a life of freedom, and from following my passions and doing what I wanted to. Now, it was very much sink or swim at the time. I didn't have money behind me. I wasn't expecting to be like out of work at that precise moment, although I'd always wanted to do my own thing. So that was when I set myself up in my first business as a dominatrix. This was something that a friend had introduced me to, and said, oh, you'd be good at this. And I looked into it, and I saw women that were taking control and doing what they wanted, running their own businesses. And from being an employee, going into that world and being my own boss and calling the shots when it came to my finances, what I did for a living, how I earned my money, who I worked with, etc., was so empowering, and I loved it. It was sink or swim. I made it work. I had no alternative. The alternative was getting a job again, and I would not do that for any reason at all. So that's how I became a dominatrix. I followed something that I was interested in. It became a life and a lifestyle, and I loved it, and I thrived on it. Through that, I then discovered a passion for photography, because my dominatrix look was very kind of glamorous, very burlesque. I loved taking loads of pictures of myself, my different looks, and I discovered a passion for photography. So then I followed that passion and became a professional photographer. That took me on another journey. I did press photography, wedding photography, portraiture photography, landscape photography, and I ran a global photography project, which is, this website's still up now, called the 4 a.m. project, because I thought the time, or I think actually still do think the time of 4 a.m. is such a beautiful time, and in the cities when it's so quiet, it feels like you have the place to yourself. So I wanted to capture a view of the world at 4 a.m. and encourage people around the world to do that too. So to start that global project and create a global movement, I had to use social media. It worked. The project was a great success. It had loads of press, TV, radio, etc. And that then took me into my next stage of following my passions, which was basically teaching social media. I ran one of the UK's biggest networking events for social media, the Birmingham Social Media Cafe. I helped big brands, global businesses, as well as smaller businesses and individuals, and I taught social media and online marketing, which was fine. That was me following my passions for however many years that was, 2 or 3 years. And then again, that morphed into me actually helping people following the lives that they dream of and doing what they love. And that's my passion now. So that's kind of the story of way back then to where we are today, and the kind of journey that I've been on. Over to you, Marina.
Thank you so much for your honesty and for the straight talk, Karen.
Always.
What struck me while you are sharing your story is that you had the courage to take responsibility for your talent. Even you had no idea what your main talent is, because human beings got this amazing panel of skills, and we are born with so many gifts. But there is one particular gift that is unique to you. And I understand that you dropped all the pretenses and you decided that you are going to create your own game with your own rules, and you align your values with your actions and with your beliefs, but most importantly with your emotions. So you went all in and you become passionate about the project, you got involved, you realize that there is no failure, there is no such thing like mediocrity. Even it's an invention. Society, it's conditioning us to believe some people could be mediocre because this is how they are. But in actual fact, your belief is that each one of us got greatness, got something which is really unique to them, and perhaps was given at birth, I don't know, and perhaps you could expand on that. And what do you think freedom is? How it's something, I know happiness is not something you can chase, it's something you can share, but what about freedom?
Freedom can come in so many different shapes or forms, and I'm finding as the years progress that there is always another level of freedom to be had that we could choose for ourselves, and it is a decision, it is a choice. If we aren't living the lives that we want to right now, if we don't have the freedom that we aspire to, that is because we're deciding not to have it. We are being victims of our circumstances, and we are never actually victims of our circumstances in this world. And if you're listening to this now, there is always the power within you to make different decisions, different choices, and create steps towards freedom. So what freedom means to me could be, obviously something different to somebody else. But I would say that, for example, my first taste of freedom was leaving that 9-to-5 job that had made me ill and depressed. That was my first break for freedom. That was incredible. I made so many life-changing decisions at that point, and took so many life-changing actions. But that, even though that was wonderful and magnificent, it still wasn't the level that I have today of freedom. With following your passions, being true to yourself, honoring who you are, being yourself, owning your story and sharing it. I share publicly my story. There's pretty much, I can't think of anything that I hide or anything. I've absolutely put the whole truth, the whole story, the ups and the downs about creating a life on your terms. Because in some ways it is, I was having this conversation with a friend today, actually, and in some ways creating a life of freedom is easy because you tune into what you want, and then you take the actions towards it. But at the same time, which sounds so contradictory, it's going to be the biggest challenge you'll ever have, because you will face things that you will not expect. You'll be challenged into your mind, your heart, your soul, everything will be challenged. But there is no other journey that will show you who you are, what you're capable of, and give you that room to expand into the person that you can truly be. So as the time goes on, and I take different actions towards having a life of freedom. So, for example, just off the top of my head, when I first shared my story about being a dominatrix, I actually only openly shared that story a year ago, last March in 2015. That was the most terrifying thing I have ever done in my 44 years. I was sick with fear because I thought I would ruin my life, ruin my business, lose my friends, lose my family. Everything that could go wrong would go wrong, right? I just thought, this is going to ruin my life. I'll be disowned. However, I had to do it because it was just a feeling inside that I had to tell my whole story. Now, not one of the bad things that I anticipated happening actually happened. In fact, only good things have happened from that. That has given me another level of freedom, because I faced my biggest fear, shared it, nothing bad's happened. So again, that's expanded. And from that, actually, just as a side note, that was last March I shared that story. Last summer, I went through a kind of spiritual awakening, which sounds really crazy because I wouldn't typically describe myself as particularly spiritual, but I was shown a whole new world of energy, of possibility, of connection, of us being more than we are here on earth. And it's very hard to put my finger on and explain it, but it was actually quite an overwhelming experience. But I believe, because I spoke my truth, and you know that saying, the truth sets you free, I had let go of that last piece that I guess that I was holding on to, that where I was holding back. So because I let that go, a whole new world has opened up to me. And when you own your truth and own your power, then there is very little that anybody can say or do to hurt you or harm you. So that's that level of freedom. And then on a practical terms, right now I'm living the kind of laptop life around the UK. I am actually at home today, but tomorrow I'm heading down to rural Oxfordshire to stay there, and I'm staying in different properties around the UK and just exploring, and just because I can be location independent. So there's that level of freedom as well. But every day you can make decisions based on where you want to be and what's going to take you to that freedom that you want. And it could happen overnight. Sometimes change can happen very, very quickly as soon as you decide. Maybe it will take longer. This journey that I've been on, I would say, you know, from the day that I've talked about earlier, the day that changed my life, and you know, when I walked out of that job of 10 years, I'd say that was when my journey began, or maybe even before that, when I first got depressed. So there's always more. There's always a different level of freedom to explore. Now, is everybody born with greatness in them? Is everybody born for more than they're accepting? Probably yes, but very, very few people will actually rise up to that their full potential, or even be aware that there is more for them in life, and that there's more for them than the lives that they have, or the lives that they're satisfied with, or the lives that they're even putting up with, which is very, very sad. And I'd love to shake everybody with it, but I can't help everybody, and I really can't help everybody. And not everybody wants to change and wants to help. So there are a few people, like 1% of 1% of the population, maybe probably less than that actually, that will actually be tuned into maybe a sense of dissatisfaction in their lives. Maybe they have, I love working with women who have rebellious streaks, so maybe they've always been a bit of a rebel, and always never really fitted in, you know, like I have in various places. So they can have that awareness and then maybe do something about it. And I guess that's where I help, and where, you know, there's lots of us leading lives that aren't the norm that can help and support and raise other people up. You know, we help people with that, with having been through the experience ourselves. So I guess I can help very, very few people. Well, I would love to shake the world with my message, and to shake the world and say, wake up, you've got a different choice, you're born free, you can stay free and create a life of freedom. Over to you, Marina.
Wow, Karen, I could listen to you. You are this ball of fire. And it's absolutely captivating how you share your story now. Of course, I understand why all the TV station and radio station and newspaper, they're all after you. They all want to interview you. You've been on the Guardian, BBC, Radio 4, Time Out New York City, the Telegraph, BBC Radio, and so on. And God knows what's next. Perhaps the, yes. You know, so it's the freedom of moving around is coming with financial freedom. And this is like the that where you have to balance it right, and it is the tricky part, because you start looking inside. So you stop looking outside. You didn't want to mirror yourself with what you see outside in outside world, chasing these earthy goals outside yourself. So you start looking inside, and you said to yourself, you know what, this is my true freedom. There's no limit to it. And you start helping other people and inspiring other people to look inside as well. And that type of freedom of taking that takes courage. And I know you mentioned the word ambition and freedom a couple of times, but I think all comes down to creating and delivering constantly a good service to the world, which you do. So when people are questioning, oh, so this the spiritual freedom must be supported by financial freedom, but guess what? Financial freedom comes from what you put out. You know, the world will pay you for your service.
Yeah.
So the bigger the service, the bigger the pay.
Yeah.
So to me, that's very clear. But maybe you could explain to our audience, and there are people from different continents. How is that working? Do you need to sell your story to the newspaper? Do you need to write a book? Do you need to create an online program, or all of the above? Or how do you create and deliver constant value? How do you create your brand?
Okay, cool. It's a really, really good question. Really, really big question. You start with what you have now. You start with where you are now. You don't wait for the perfect time. You don't wait for everything to line up and everything for the stars to be aligned and for the perfect opportunity. You start now with where you are right now.
So Karen, so you are saying, don't wait for the perfect moment. Take this moment and make it perfect.
Yeah, claim it and do something and take action. Nothing can, all the thought, all the theory, all the waiting in the world is nothing if you're not taking action. So you just take action right now, even if it's imperfect action.
Okay, so right now, what our listeners could do for themselves.
Yeah.
So they could go to our website and download your gift.
Yeah, so I've got,
for instance, because it's an abundant place. The universe is great, and there are resources and tools everywhere, and you are offering them something which could potentially change their life.
Absolutely, yeah. So there's a couple of free gifts that I've got if they go over to karenstrunks.com/gifts. There is also where I hang out every day. I've got a free Facebook group. It's actually called Rebel Business Bitches, where I'm there to help, inspire, motivate.
I love that.
Yeah, I'm calling out a certain type of woman. You had better come on over, Marina. Be a rebel business bitch. But yeah, and I've got my videos on YouTube and my blog posts, so I share as much as
I understand that you do. Sorry, Karen. So you do have a formula, a blueprint that is transferable to our listeners. No. So where they should go to find that start?
Yeah, so that's the thing. A lot of people start with looking again at the rules, at the blueprints, at the systems, at the strategies, at the books, at following other people's guides and step-by-step systems. I do not teach that. I'm not interested in that. I can show you what I do, which is very, 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 very simple. Now, there was a point in my business where I did get caught up in the rules of online business myself. I was searching for the how to do this, how to be that, and that was a few years into my business, where I'd already never followed a rule in my life up until that point in my business. Because when I started my business, I always said, oh, I haven't got a clue what I was doing, like I was at a disadvantage. But really, I was an advantage, because I wasn't following anybody else's rules but my own and doing what I like. So no, I absolutely don't have a blueprint or a strategy as such that you can follow step by step. What I do advocate is people turn up every day, take imperfect action, or just take action, right? But do it from a place of being. So who is the person that you want to be when you are living the life that you want to have? Having a life of freedom to put stuff out there. So my system, if you like, and it's this simple, and it's so simple people, they would rather follow 100-point plan or a blueprint or something like that, right? This is what I do to run my business from a place of freedom, to grow my business as well.
This is wonderful. I really love this, turning the how, which usually get us stuck in a place where you don't know what to do next. So what's now? How I'm going to this? And you turn that into the wow. I'm going to do this. I'm going to be this person. I'm going to inspire all these people. I'm going to share with them. I'm not going to teach anything. I'm going to share with them exactly who I am. And my discoveries could be their discoveries till the moment they get the self-confidence and the courage to have their own. So, Karen, I absolutely adore you. I'm doing exactly the same. I'm not in my own way. I'm not teaching anything. I'm telling people, but you teach. I said, no, I don't teach. I just share. And people look at me like I'm an alien. But the truth is that is nothing that I know that you, the listener, won't know. You know it better than me. You know it a lot better. You just don't know it's available. So my mission is to broadcast your passion, to make it available to other people and inspire other people, because it's all about the 99% migrating into the 1% without having a stamp on their passport. You don't need a stamp. You don't need anyone's approval. Listen to Karen. Listen to her amazing accomplishments. And I'm so grateful for you coming in today, Karen, because it's really the cherry on the cake. It's the proof that all these years, in the last 3 years since I left my home and I went away from home and I visited 341 cities. Everybody thought I'm mad, but because I'm not teaching anything, and I keep saying it's nothing I can teach you. I'm learning from you. You just give me the privilege of learning from you, and I will share that, because success is your birthright. What you are lacking is being aware of your worth. That's the only thing you don't have right now. And that's why Karen is here. I'm here. Please get in touch from both of us. It's stay on fire. Over to you, Karen.
Oh, that's brilliant. I totally agree with that. Everything that you want is your birthright, and freedom is your birthright. And I keep my business, I guess, that side of things, like, really simple. As I was saying, this isn't a complicated system. I wake up every day. I put my message out there, which is basically me transferring what's on my mind out in my mouth or onto the blog post or something, out into my newsletter. So whether that's something that is educational, or something that's motivational, or a story, or something that's going to inspire people to take action, any of those things, I never know what I'm going to say probably in the next hour, never mind the next day. So every day I just use my inspiration. So wherever that comes from, and I usually start my day by reading something, listening to something inspirational, whether that be a podcast or video from any of the great kind of leaders and personal development people, and that usually triggers something for me to talk about that day. At the same time, I put an offer out there of something that I'm selling. So I've got a mastermind that people can join. It's called the No Limits Mastermind. So if you want to check that out, it's really great value.
Sounds delicious. By the
KarenStrunks.com/no limits. So it could be I'm selling that. It could be that I'm selling like a coaching package. It could be that I'm promoting a book. It could be that I'm speaking somewhere. It could be any or all of those things. I don't tie myself down to one product. It might be a new online program. It could be something very short and sweet. And that's the thing, when you want to create something to actually sell and make money, what do you want to sell? It doesn't really matter how you package things up, and people get stuck on this. As long as I'm delivering the content in however it's delivered, and I get my message to people, that's good enough for me and the people that who want to work with me. So I make an offer for sale every day, and then I'll do some outreach work to get in front of new audiences. So I'm growing my business. So this is a great example, Marina. So thank you for the opportunity to reach new people. And those are the things that just so simple. Get my message out there, offer something for sale, and reach new people. If I do those 3 things every single day, I'm not satisfied with that totally, but that's the bare minimum. I do a lot more as well, of course. But those 3 things, if people just started doing those 3 things and creating their business and life of freedom, that way they would be on to a winner. And it can be that simple. So forget about looking for the next blueprint, the next how, the next join the dots system to online success.
So
Turn up, be you.
Open the gates to opportunities, to fresh thinking. Don't let others put any thought into your mind. Just start fresh and never doubt yourself. Thank you so much, Karen. It's been an absolute pleasure talking with you today. And thank you. So grateful on behalf of our listeners. I'm so grateful for sharing your amazing story. From both of us, is goodbye. Stay on fire.
Bye.